Is anybody excited about this game or the opponent?
Yeah. No. I'm excited. I think Utah is a fun team to watch. I think it's a pretty tough challenge for Ohio State, just a physical team in the Pac-12, which seems like a bit of an anomaly. I've watched two Utah games so far since the game's been announced. I went in and watched the Pac-12 championship game just to kind of see them at their best. I watched another game where they were a little more middling. I think we sit there and we see Cameron Rising, their quarterback, running all over people, but that's not really a huge part of his game. Ohio State's faced quarterbacks that are much more committed to the run, like an Adrian Martinez, than Cameron Rising. Cameron Rising just doesn't get sacked. He's only been sacked 5 times this season. He's able to run to stay out of trouble, and if he has to take it downfield, he'll take it downfield. But in terms of excitement, no, because people sit there and everybody thought that they were going to go to the college football playoff. Oh, this is going to be great. They're going to go to Dallas, then Indianapolis, and then we'll have a big party at Ohio Stadium, and there will be punch and pie for all. And that doesn't end up being the case. So, the Rose Bowl may be iconic, but the Rose Bowl has lost a lot of bloom on that rose here in recent times because it's not the CFP in most seasons. And Utah is just not even really a Pac-12 school historically. So I don't think there's a lot of excitement there, but Ohio State's players and coaches better be excited because Utah is very excited about this. And if Ohio State comes in screwing around, this is a game Ohio State can win by 28, or if they don't play well, could lose by 28.
And if I'm not mistaken, even though we're not used to Utah bringing in top flight high school quarterbacks, Cameron Rising was a huge recruit, right, Kevin?
Yeah, he wasn't a 5-star type of kid, but he ended up matriculating his way over to Utah. He was not the starter this year. Charlie Brewer, who was a transfer from Baylor, ended up being the starter, but they still thought enough of Cameron Rising to name him a captain. He handled it the right way. He took care of business, and when Charlie Brewer didn't work out for him, they went back to Cameron Rising, and this team really turned around under Rising. So, he certainly is going to be one of those kids on the roster that we're going to say, well, he's one of the higher ranked kids, but Utah does not normally go out and get those top 30 kids nationally. But they do have some guys on there, including having Noah Sewell's brother. I'm drawing a Nehigh Sewell on that team. So, they got some dudes.
Utah, to me, they've benefited tremendously by that last shift of realignment about 10 years ago where they got called up to the bigs from the Mountain West and got to play in the Pac-12. And now it's their 11th year in the Pac-12, and they've won the conference championship. Their coach, Kyle Whittingham, has been there, 17 years? I believe he was the guy who replaced Urban Meyer when Meyer left after he got him in the Fiesta Bowl. This is only the 3rd time they're going to play in a New Year's 6 game. They're 2-0 in those games. They beat Pittsburgh in that Fiesta Bowl back in 04-05. And they stunned Alabama before Nick Saban really had it going there at Alabama. I think they beat them in the Sugar Bowl, I want to say, one of those years. So, you look at it, they're going to be happy certainly to be in this game. It is about a 10-hour drive, I think, from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles. So, there'll be a few people that will make that trip, but probably a lot more that are hopping on a plane from Salt Lake City to LA. I assume there's a lot of flights daily on United from Salt Lake City to Los Angeles, and we'll bring a lot of those people, and they'll probably be very well represented. I think the crowd should probably be 2/3 for Utah and 1/3 for Ohio State when it finally comes out. But I've been at Rose Bowls where it seemed like it was half and half, Ohio State and Arizona State way back when, and I don't remember about Oregon and Washington. But at any rate, they're going to be very pleased and happy to be a part of this. Ohio State remains to be seen what their incentive, what their emotion, what their their goal is for this, other than obviously going out to try and win the game. But what's their motivation? I think that's the question that we're left to kind of ponder, as they'll start practice on Friday, first of 15 days of bull practice. I presume they'll take like the 20th to the 25th off. I think they're flying to LA on the 26th, and we'll get back at it on the 27th, and getting ready for that bowl game out there on the 1st.
Anything on this one, Tony?
I do think you better match Utah's intensity, and Ryan Day talked about how it's going to be kind of a culture thing as well. You've got to have pride. Everybody's got to have pride in what they do and what Ohio State means, and so you've got to show that. And I go back to following the Michigan State loss in 2015, after Ohio State beat Michigan that next week. Talking with Taylor Decker, I asked him, where does this rank among your Michigan wins? And he said it was the tops, because if after that Michigan State loss, they didn't come in here and play well and play as well as they did and show that this is actually who they are, all of the talk about culture and toughness, it would have meant nothing. It would have been all phony. He said phony like several times. I think a lot of that is now in play for this game. If you want to talk about culture and toughness and tough love and all of that stuff, you better show it in this game, because if you don't, the labels that you're starting to see about Ohio State being soft, and that was just the offense for being pass happy. Now you're starting to see it with the defense as well, allowing 297 yards rushing to Michigan, getting run through by Oregon, which I think is mostly a scheme issue. Michigan wasn't just all about scheme, although there were scheme issues, but if you allow that to happen again, now those soft labels, they're going to stick for a while, and you're going to have to figure out a way to get them off next year, because you won't be doing anything about them this year.
Yeah, Steve, the Rose Bowl, not. It's just kind of difficult for me to still digest, even though we've had a long period of deterioration of these bowl games and what they bring. And even in its current state, it's still going to be most likely the highest rated bowl game outside of the playoff. But still, it's just strange to connect Rose Bowl with disappointment and not a priority. And it's kind of an afterthought.
Yeah, it is a little bit different. I think for us old guard that have been around a while, we remember when the Rose Bowl was where you wanted to be on New Year's Day, but obviously that's changed with the playoff. Unless it's hosting a playoff semifinal game, it's the last place you want to be. So I don't know. A lot of the bloom is off of it at this point, and it's unfortunate, but things change over time. And what can you say other than it's time for new traditions and new things to take hold?
Steve, where can people find you?
Bucknuts.com and at Steve Hellwagon on Twitter. That's seems to be the two places where I'm at, and going to do everything we can to cover the run up to signing day in a week, and also what's going to happen, obviously, with the Rose Bowl as well.
1 week away from National Signing Day. Kevin, what do you have working these days?
Oh, plenty of stuff. I just recorded and posted an edition of the Big Me Kickoff, where I spoke with somebody who covers Oklahoma State about what the Buckeyes are getting in Jim Knowles. Have a lot of stuff leading up to National Signing Day, planning on being at Pickerington Central to see Sonny Styles sign his letter of intent as he's reclassified. Lots of questions to ask him and a whole lot more. So really looking forward to it all at Buckeye Scoop.
Tony.
Yeah, you can find me at BuckeyeScoop.com, on Twitter at Tony Gerdeman. Really, at this point, you got some stuff in the works, but something new is happening like every day at this point. So you just got to be ready to be available to cover it. And of course, Buckeye basketball tonight, 9 p.m. on ESPNU. I know Steve is looking forward to that. We are all looking forward to that. Hosting Towson, mighty Towson Tigers, 9 p.m.
9
on a Wednesday,
Eastern time zone.
Look out for that. everybody keep an eye on that and tune in for that. And then, podcasts here and there, writing about new coaches coming and going and all of that good stuff at BuckeyeScoop.com.
They didn't think enough of Ohio State to at least move it to the 7 p.m. time slide.
Hey, I'm just glad it's not 9:30. It has been in the past.
Yeah, the Duke game was a 9:30 start. I'm just looking here on my TV to see what they're showing at 7. That is women's college soccer. And then women's college basketball, Iowa State, 7 o'clock. So that's a big game. The Cy-Hawk rivalry. Why? That game is being played in Iowa freaking State in, what is that, Ames, Iowa, in the Central Time Zone?
Central Time Zone.
That could have been an 8 o'clock start for them locally at 9 o'clock. And why it's not flipped, I don't know. That's weird.
Is there any talk on the street about where Quinn Ewers is going to land? Has he shown up anywhere yet?
There was some big money talk about him ending up at Texas and some gigantic NIL deals waiting for him. I assume he's going to end up wherever he gets a starting job and whatever the easiest road is. I don't know what's Texas's situation. Don't they have like a youngish starter? Texas Tech, I know, is another guy that he's visiting. So he left so he could play and make more money because of that. So I would assume he's not going to walk into a situation where, we're going to need you to compete and we've got an established starter. Like, it would surprise me if he didn't walk into somewhere where he didn't expect to start.
Still wondering what he expected at Ohio State. It would have been one thing had he shown up before spring practice to compete for the job. But when you show up the middle of August, and I understand had it been earlier, it was going to be wide open because nobody had ever thrown a pass. But at that point, you got to know that whoever wins the job this August is most likely going to take off and be pretty prolific, like has been the last 15 years. So I'm not going to be able to compete for this job.
I think what was caught him off guard is that CJ Stroud was as good as he was, and other guys in front of him were better than he was as well. And so then, obviously everybody's going to be better than you, but CJ Stroud being as good as he was, he knew he wasn't starting next year. And so, you got to think about the money, Mark, as we all say in college sports.
I think the abruptness of his departure kind of tells you that there was some kind of disconnect. And Ryan Day said he was taken off guard by what happened and the timing of it. And I think there was some kind of disconnect between Quinn Ewers and the coaching staff on, if we backtrack this, Texas High School Athletic Association said, no, you may not monetize. And that came out right around the beginning of August, late July. And he made a very quick decision within a week and said, I'm out of here. Peace out. And was off to college and dictated to Ohio State, I'm coming this year so I can monetize. And, say if that's good thing or bad thing all you want, but that's kind of the fact of the matter. They were put on the defensive in this case of, okay, well, you can come on in, but we have put all of our eggs in the basket of CJ Stroud, Jack Miller, and Kyle McCord since January 1 of this past year and January 1 of the previous year of the other two guys. And it would not be the right thing to do to throw them overboard to put you on a fast track to play this year. We're not going to jump you over those other three guys. That's not the plan. We haven't done that. And only that, CJ Stroud's a pretty good player. So I think that was the first disconnect, is he came in with maybe some unrealistic expectations that he was doing them a favor by showing up a year early so he could monetize, when it wasn't that way at all. And then as he got into it, it didn't sound like he was making any kind of a proper move toward playing this season. I mean, you'd ask Ryan Day about the 6th week. Is he ever going to get to play? Oh, he's kind of struggling with this, learning the ropes and whatever. Well, then the next thing that happens is Jack Miller gets charged with a DUI, and they have to make him the number 3 quarterback, kind of by default. And the next week, Ryan Day said, "Boy, it's just amazing. The strides this kid's making, he's coming along. Now that Ohio State needed him to fill a role as the number 3 quarterback, oh, the progress he's made. You know, amazing how that happens, isn't it?" But, you know, it was an untenable situation from the word go. The 4th quarterback, I mean, and with unrealistic expectations. And I think from his standpoint, it was, they really didn't do anything to push me into this competition or develop me, which they had their hands full with the guys that had to play, certainly. And from their standpoint, he put us in a tough spot to expect us to throw the other 3 guys overboard to make a way for him. So just seemed like everything was off from the word go with him. Next year would have been a more natural fit because he would have come in, sat behind CJ for 1 year. Then he would have been the guy, theoretically, in 2023. I think it's very short-sighted on his part. I think that the track record now states this is the 4th straight guy that Day has sent to New York City, although I don't think Barrett went to New York when Day was his quarterback's coach in 2017. I think that they're now up to 3 straight guys who are going to be first-round NFL quarterback draft picks under Day, and whoever starts in 2023 has a distinct chance to do that in the 2024 draft, which will now be McCord, it appears. So, you know, whatever. You know, this transient world of college football, I guess we better all just accept it or stop watching the sport because it's here to stay.